between heaven and the desert. The untold story of Elijah. My name is Elijah. And this is the story they never told you about me. You know me as the prophet of fire, the one who shut the heavens, who called fire from the sky, who ascended in a flaming chariot. But let me tell you the truth, I was afraid. Very afraid. I was 25 years old when God called me. 25 years old, with no qualifications. I was from Tishbe, a place nobody knew, son of simple people. My hands were calloused from manual labor, not from rolling sacred scrolls. I didn't know how to speak like the priests, didn't know the laws like the scribes. And yet, God chose me. That first night, when I heard the voice for the first time, I was alone at home. The oil lamp flickered, and my heart was beating so hard I thought it would burst from my chest. Why me? I shouted into the void. I'm nobody. Son of nobody. And then, a breeze came through the window. Gentle, but impossible to ignore. And the voice, oh the voice. Deep as the ocean, soft as the wind. That's exactly why, it said. I don't need scribes. I need someone who will listen. Someone who will trust. I fell to my knees. Lord, I whispered, I'm afraid. I know, came the answer. And then with a tenderness that made me weep, you'll be afraid many times. You'll doubt. You'll want to give up. But every time you fall, I'll be there. What if I fail? I asked. You will fail. Many times. But I didn't choose you because you're perfect. I chose you because your heart still knows how to break. And so it all began. The first mission was the hardest. Going to King Ahab's palace and declaring there would be no rain. It sounds simple when you hear the story afterwards, but let me tell you how it really was. I almost fainted from fear. When I arrived at the palace, my simple clothes contrasted with all that opulence. Gold everywhere, guards with shining spears, courtiers in expensive robes. And there I was, a peasant from Tishbe, daring to step into that place. Ahab was on the throne, looking bored. Jezebel at his side, beautiful and deadly as a serpent. When they announced my name, all eyes turned to me. I felt my legs weaken. My mouth went completely dry. What do you want, peasant? Ahab asked with disdain. I closed my eyes. Say it, I thought. Just say it. And when I opened my eyes, something changed inside me. A strength that wasn't mine took over. As surely as the Lord, the God of Israel, lives, my voice echoed through the hall, there will be neither dew nor rain in these years, except by my word. Ahab rose furiously. Jezebel screamed to have me arrested. The guards advanced, but something stopped them. I don't know what. Maybe they saw something in my eyes. Maybe they felt what I felt, that these weren't just my words. I turned and walked out. I walked normally until I left the palace. But when I was far enough away, I ran. I ran until I couldn't anymore. Then I stopped, leaned against a wall and vomited. I collapsed on the ground, shaking violently, laughing and crying at the same time. I did it, I whispered. I really did it. The voice came again, now run. Eastward. To the brook of Cherith. And I ran. I ran for my life. At the brook of Cherith, I learned what real loneliness was. Not the loneliness of being alone, but the loneliness of carrying a weight that no one else understood. God fed me through ravens, the most unclean birds according to our law. I laughed alone at the irony. God always had a sense of humor. But the nights were long. Very long. And at night, I talked to God as if He were sitting beside me. You know what's hardest? I would say. It's not the fear of dying. It's knowing that people are suffering because of my words. Children are dying of hunger. Mothers are burying their children. And I'm here, fed by ravens, while they suffer. The answer always came gentle but firm. Do you think I don't see? A hard heart needs time to crack. Like this dry earth. First it cracks. Then, it can be watered. 100 days later, the brook itself began to dry up. The irony was cruel. God shut the heavens, and now even my hiding place was dying of thirst. Get up, said the voice. Go to Zarephath. A widow there will sustain you. A widow, I replied incredulously. In Phoenicia? Jezebel's homeland. Were you expecting safety? I promised you presents. I arrived in Zarephath exhausted. I found the widow, a woman named Sarah, gathering sticks at the city gate. I asked for water and bread. She looked at me with empty eyes and said something I'll never forget. I only have a handful of flour and a little oil. I'm going to make one last meal for me and my son. Then, we're going to die. The resignation in that voice. Something broke inside me. But I said, even trembling inside, don't be afraid. Make the bread. But first, make one for me. Because the flour will not run out and the oil will not fail. She almost laughed. You're crazy. Or a prophet. Maybe both. But she did it. God knows why, but she trusted. And the flour never ran out. Never. For months, that jar that should have been empty always had flour. I learned something there that changed everything. God didn't call me to always be right. He called me to always be present. In that humble house, with Sarah and her son Joab, I wasn't the fearsome prophet. I was just Elijah. And that was a gift. But then came the darkest night. Joab got sick. High fever, cough, every breath a struggle. Sarah watched over him all night, singing lullabies in a broken voice. And I was on the roof, shouting at God. Even this child. I did everything you asked. Tears were streaming. I left my home. I confronted kings. I went hungry. And now you take her son. The silence was absolute. Suffocating. I went down, took Joab in my arms. He was almost lifeless. I went up to the roof and did something I don't know where it came from. I stretched myself over the boy. Once. Twice. 3 times. As if I were trying to transfer my own life force to him. Oh Lord my God, I prayed, and I had never prayed with such intensity, please. Let this child's life return. Not as a prophet. As a man. As someone who is lost. The silence lasted an eternity. Then Joab coughed. And opened his eyes. I held him and cried like I had never cried. Thank you, I repeated over and over. Thank you. That night I understood. Miracles don't prove that God exists. Miracles prove that God cares. 3.5 years after the drought began, God said, it's time. Go meet Ahab. Tell this now it sounds heroic, but let me be honest, I was terrified. I wasn't afraid of fire that might not come. I was afraid that, maybe I had heard wrong. Maybe it was all madness. The prophets of Baal danced, shouted, cut themselves. Hours and hours. Nothing happened. Then it was my turn. Mount Carmel. Me alone against 450 prophets of Baal. When I rebuilt the altar with 12 stones. One for each tribe of Israel, each tribe that had forgotten who they were. I poured water over everything. Once, twice, 3 times. The crowd murmured that I was crazy, wasting precious water. I knelt down. I closed my eyes. And I prayed not as a powerful prophet, but as a frightened son. Father, I'm here. I'm afraid. My legs are shaking. But I trust you. As I trusted when you told me to shut the heavens. As I trusted when you hid me. As I trusted when you brought Joab back. Then I cried out loud, answer me, so that this people may know that you are Lord. The silence was absolute. Then, fire. From heaven. Consuming everything. Sacrifice, wood, stones, dust, water. Everything. The crowd fell to their knees. The Lord is God. But I didn't celebrate. I fell to my knees and wept. You came, I whispered. You really came. And the rain returned that afternoon. I danced in the rain like a boy, laughing and crying, feeling 3 years of weight being washed away. But the story doesn't end in victory. Jezebel swore to kill me. And I, the prophet who had called fire from heaven, fled. I ran like a coward into the desert and hid in a cave. There, I collapsed. Enough, Lord, I cried. Take my life. I'm no better than my fathers. The people shouted your name, and the next day they had already forgotten. And I'm here hiding, a coward. Come out of the cave, said the voice. A strong wind came. Earthquake. Fire. But God was not in them. Then, silence. A gentle breeze. and the voice whispering, "I'm here." "Were you always this close?" I asked in a broken voice. "Always. But you could only hear me in the thunder. Now you learn to hear me in the silence." "I'm tired." "I know. I'm afraid." "I know. I don't want to do this alone anymore." "You never did. And there are 7,000 in Israel who have not bowed to Baal. You're not alone, my son. You never were." I cried, but now they were tears of relief. Years later, I found Elisha plowing the field. I threw my mantle over him. "Me? Why me?" he asked, startled. I smiled. Because God doesn't look for the perfect. He looks for the available. Faith is not the absence of fear. It's choosing to trust even with fear. God's voice isn't always in the thunder. Sometimes it's in the silence, in a widow's touch, in a child's smile. "What if I fail?" asked Elisha. "You will. But he'll be there. He always was. He always will be." On my last day on earth, we walked together to the Jordan. The chariot of fire descended, and I ascended in the whirlwind. I looked at Elisha one last time. Prophets cry too, I wanted to say. And that doesn't make us weak. It makes us human. This is my story. Not of the powerful prophet who shut the heavens, but of the broken man who learned that the greatest strength is not in shutting the sky, but in opening the heart. Of the man who was afraid, who doubted, who cried, who wanted to give up, but who never stopped walking toward the voice that called him. Because in the end, God doesn't need fearless heroes. He needs children brave enough to be afraid, and still trust. And that is the story they never told you. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and share this video. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message of courage and purpose. Your support helps us continue bringing stories that inspire and strengthen faith. May God bless you.